to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Session called to order at 6 o'clock. Need approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. On the agenda. We have the minutes for the board meeting. It was on May 12th. Everybody has those in their hands. Anybody have any additions or subtractions to those minutes and corrections? Entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Do you want to do those on the consent?
Oh, yeah, we can do it consent. I'm sorry, Andy. Yeah, you're exactly right. So, treasurer's financial,
Is that
under the
should be
consent.
in-
It's under the consent. Yep.
And then approval of those on the back.
Yep.
And Senator's report is included in packets and was
All
also
there in that
on the
packet. Yep. Is anybody called to be pulled out? Is anybody called for anything to be pulled out of those four? No?
I'm good with everything.
Good enough. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Public comment. Public comment, you get 2 minutes. Anybody like to speak?
Ann Scobie Peterson, Maple Valley Township. Megan, can we have, in your treasurer report, the interest earned on like all our CDs and whatnot, like Miranda used to do? Because that was interesting to see every month, to see how much was being saved, or, you know, how much we were earning on our money that was in all these places.
Interest for CDs only accrues quarterly. So if it accrues, I put it. If it accrues quarterly, I put it quarterly. But the ones where it's not listed out line item, it's because they don't give it to us on a monthly.
Okay, didn't she have something every month though?
Yes,
I
she
don't
did.
remember what exactly it was.
She did have monthly.
With different accounts.
And she also put on the treasurer report the rentals, so that, you know, we would know how often we're being rented here. I mean, we'd like to know. So, if we could, please.
We'll take that under advisement. All right. Anybody else? All at once. Okay, we'll close the public comment. All right, Lee.
We had a public hearing on accessory dwelling units, and had quite a few people actually come to it this time. So we went over the ordinance that we already had down, discussed some more stuff, and we had some additions added on to it. And we got a pretty better understanding now. We think we're gonna have a better ordinance when we get done. And we set the next public hearing for July 10th.
Okay, July 10th.
Yep.
Andy's got that.
So I think that's gonna be at your regularly scheduled meeting, okay. Okay, got it done.
We did quite a bit that night on it, so.
Very good. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Tim, what do we got for fire board?
Fire board, new things, we increased the insurance amount, or we're going to increase the insurance amount to $100,000 on the new ladder truck. Quite a valuable piece of equipment, we picked it up cheap, but, you know, they're trying to get an idea of where actually the valuation should be on that, and that agreement was going to go to that amount. We made a $60,000 payment on their tender truck loan. We have a little bit to pay on that yet. I'll get you a total amount after the next meeting. We had 12 total runs for the month. One was in Maple Valley, just a gas station.
Good. Okay. Parks and Rec.
We have quite a few updates. So, Parks and Rec met this past Wednesday, which, we're gonna be having standing meetings through the summer, like spring and summer, monthly, first Wednesday of the month. So, be on the lookout if anybody wants to come and attend those, we'll have those here. So we met on Wednesday. Highlights from that, we have dirt that'll be coming in next week. Josh will be delivering that and doing some Harley raking at Truth Park. Once that's in, Melissa and I will coordinate getting the grass seed set up and getting the straw and sprinklers out there. We have an estimate from Ron Imhoff, so I have that in the board packets for approval. If you guys want to take a look at that. There are 8 trees that need removal over by the treatment ball fields. If we just do the tree removal, $1,600. If we do stump grinding, it's $2,500. Derek, do the stumps need to be removed? Do you prefer they be removed? What are your thoughts?
He's
there?
gonna leave them about 3 to 4 feet high, so that's up to you guys.
Okay, I mean,
You get a lot of parking there.
That is all parking area.
There's a lot of people in and out of there.
They
I'd
might
say
hit
it's
a
grind
stump.
line.
okay. Okay, I wasn't sure where they were at for sure, so, okay, perfect. So we have that estimate that will move for approval here, when we get down to, the rest. You wanna do it now?
We're already looking at it, so.
Entertain a motion.
Okay, so, I'll make a motion that we approve Ron Imhoff's estimate for $2,500 to remove trees, including stump grinding and removal at the treatment ball fields.
I'll support it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And I'm gonna caveat that,
Approved.
that motion and just put that we're taking that out of 901-972 park projects line item on the budget.
And then, next item on our update list, so we did get a $5,000 check, donation from the Masonic Lodge. That was proceeds from the sale of the building in Truven when they merged with the Howard City Lodge. So that was very kind of them. They donated some funds to a few different organizations. That $5,000 has been earmarked for Peterson Park. So we have it there and we plan to get benches. Melissa is researching some metal benches with rubber coating that we can install at Peterson Park. Another quick update on ball. We were unsure how many teams they would have this year and if they would be moving forward just because of interest and signups. But Derek was excited to tell us that they have 7 co-ed teams that have signed up this year. So it should be a good ball season. Looking forward to that. We have some minor repairs going in at the horseshoe pits at both Truett and Coral Parks. So Steve and Katie Kane are going to be helping us with fixing the backboards. There are traveling horseshoe leagues that use both of those parks, and we just want to make sure that they are able to use those. And then I think a couple of folks are going to go pull the weeds over in Truett because there's grass that's grown up in the pits. So pulling out the grass and weeds and then just putting some fresh sand, maybe just a couple of bags or whatever, just to get them spruced up. I think the horseshoe circuit starts in a couple of weeks, but Steve said he would get it done, so not a big deal there. The total repairs for those, it was estimated to be less than $500 for everything, just to get all new backboards, the sand, everything. So we told them to just go ahead with it and let us know. Our next meeting is on July 2nd, and then we are going to be planning a fundraiser for Parks and Recreation. So tentatively marking calendars for September 13th. We would like to host a fish fry here at the Coral Community Center. All proceeds would go to Parks and Recreation for Maple Valley Township, supporting further advancements to both parks, cemeteries, and the ball fields. So, more information to come on that.
You know how much those benches are gonna cost anyway?
We don't know yet. Melissa is gonna do some research on that and get back to us.
But then it's probably enough amount of donation they gave to help with the sand and all that, for what you get to.
Unsure at this point.
Everything, or-
The money from the lodge has to be spent at Peterson Park. And the horseshoe stuff was all kind of put together just because it was cheaper to get it all together. And Steve was cutting up the wood, like he was buying long boards and cutting them and retrofitting them to the size of the horseshoe pits because it ended up saving us money. So he's not charging us labor for any of it, just for the, boards and materials and then for the sand.
I don't know if you use any of that for what they're doing in health. It's just Peterson Park, but maybe part of it could be used for student park and the rest. That's funding.
If we did, it would probably be less than $100 maybe. So I don't know if it'd be worth trying to take out of that $5,000. We were also thinking to just earmark that towards something specific, and then when we put the benches in, maybe putting a plaque on them or something to kind of memorialize the donation.
That'd be great.
And we already have money earmarked for park projects. We have $44,250 in our parks project line item currently, so that is still from some of the ARPA funds we got from the county. So,
Is that it?
Yep.
Very good. That's a lot, so very good, thank you.
Thanks to everybody else. It's been a good group effort. We have a lot of people who are really motivated and, doing a lot to help us, so.
All right. So moving on to unfinished business, we have the Peterson Park title work update.
I heard from the attorneys and, we're sitting at nothing with that as far as that. And because the paperwork was sent to Ann and her niece to sign in October / November last year. Ann Peterson has retained the legal counsel, so our attorneys can no longer contact her. And they're waiting for her to sign paperwork so that we can take it to probate and get that title work all cleaned up so that we can actually get a clean title on Peterson Park and have that finalized, but they're waiting on that. So we're just in the waiting game. So, Ann, has your attorney reached out to you?
Yes, I just got a letter today. I have not had a chance to call him yet. That's on my list for tomorrow, to set up a time to get it the rest of the way.
Okay, because that's what they had reached out several times and said, it's been 8 months.
Yeah.
And nothing. So, and then, like I said, they can't reach out to you personally because you have retained counsel.
Oh, okay.
So,
That'd be why he sent me the letter. Okay.
yeah, so they sent him information in November for you to
Yep.
sign so that we could move forward into court, but we can't move forward because they're waiting on your signature to be
Okay.
able to move forward.
Okay.
So that's where we're at with that.
You said you've got that, so life is good. You can,
Yeah, I got the letter from my lawyer today.
okay.
Just things went crazy over the winter,
Oh, yeah.
so
Very good.
that's my plan, to get it finished up this summer, so.
There we go. All right, very good.
That's it, yep.
All right, very good. All right, we have a purchasing policy. Take a look at it. Talk about that.
Yep. Find that out right now.
Got it.
Alright, so we have a couple of pages. First page, front and back, is the actual purchasing policy. Second page, front and back, is what has changed, essentially. How we've simplified it, what's been clarified, and essentially what makes it a good purchasing policy. So a couple of things I just wanna walk through that make sense to me. So I tried to make it a little bit more clear and simple. Our last purchasing policy was very long, a lot of sections, and was very convoluted. So we took it down from several pages down to 2. So that's the biggest change. We consolidated and increased the flexibility across 4 specific dollar ranges. So anything that is a purchase under $2,500 would be department discretion. $2,500 to $10,000 would be a use of a preferred vendor or 2 quotes. $10,000 to $25,000 would require 3 quotes or an RFP. $25,000 and up would be a formal competitive process. Other things. I mentioned the approved vendor process or the trusted vendor process. That's something we had kicked around a couple of months ago when I first brought this up. So it would basically mean if we have good services, we use somebody for all of our specific well services, or we use somebody for all of our specific electrical services, or we have a very niche thing that we're using, they're a good vendor, they typically give us good pricing, that we can go to them when we need them in situations, when we're within that dollar threshold, right? It saves time, it saves administrative effort, and then it encourages long-term relationships with providers that are local and treat us well. It also clarified the emergency and sole source purchasing areas. So, it kept the part about emergencies and unique needs allowing bypassing typical bidding with supervisor and board oversight. It still offers that flexibility when quick action is needed. It retains the transparency and requires written justification and board follow-up. We also reaffirmed the cooperative purchasing, but we also added in explicit use of the government pricing and cooperative contracts like MyDeal through the state. That saves us time and allows us to use like the statewide pricing, and it's something that most municipalities are aligned with. And then I also included a vendor resolution template. We don't have to approve that piece today because that's something that we can take a look at, but that's something essentially we would approve on an annual basis. It's like, these are our approved vendors for the year. So once we compile them, when we go to do our annual budgeting process, like this is our annual budget, these are our annual, like our approved vendors, we just approved all at the same time. And
So
then
we should start making a list of these vendors that we would like to vet
Yep.
and figure out who we'd like to have on there and
exactly.
why.
Yep.
Okay.
So, essentially, it's kind of like it's more tailored, it's less one size fits all. It's a very clear process, there's not as many sections, not look here for professional services, look here for this, look here for that. It's a little bit more flexible. It also took into account, inflation, because one of the things we were running into with even education, you know what I mean? I think our education amounts are like 125 and most of our classes are 150. You know, so there's things like that where we were running into, you know, purchasing policy, kind of cutting us off at the knees. So that was my goal with this. I'll give you guys a second to take a peek at it, if you have any questions. And again, this is, compared to other local municipalities. I think there were a couple that I even referenced in the email, but I can't remember if I put the specific municipalities there. Oh, and the preferred vendor template is in, it's like the appendix A, so this is a sample. It's like how you would go about approving the approved vendor list.
And that preferred vendor would still have that, it'd still be up to that $10,000 ceiling, and then we go into
Yep.
something, so it's not like they're gonna get
Exactly.
every bit of work,
No,
it's just
absolutely.
for the small stuff, we got
Nope.
somebody new who's giving us a good price, I mean, yeah. Familiar with that in manufacturing, but they're a little
Yeah.
different, yeah. Very good.
I have background in general construction and insurance restoration, and that's the policy that we used, was a preferred vendor list.
Yeah. Smooth things all along. So how would you like to proceed with this? Do we want to take it as a whole?
I would like to, I would make a motion that we adopt the purchasing policy as presented and start working on our preferred vendor list as the year goes on and then adopt that.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion, yeah.
Do you have a second? Very good. Discussion on the motion?
Yeah, qualifications that we're looking for the preferred vendor list.
And we'll have to probably discuss and figure out how we go through who we hired in the last couple of years. And maybe
In my head, is that what
is kind of start discussing, okay, well, who did what good work for, you know, kind of like Imhoff. Ronnie, we know that he always treats us very, very fairly, does great work, and no other tree service has touched any of his bids. So, I mean, we go into that and that would be one of it. That's, I guess that's the way I'm looking at it, is that we start giving you guys the names and we can start asking questions.
We
And
know they're insured, we
We know they're insured, yeah.
Licensed, insured.
Yep, we keep those on file.
Yeah, because before I pay them, I make sure that I have their current, copy of their insurance,
Okay, good.
so.
And just so I understand, it's a list that anybody could see who the
Yeah.
preferred vendors
Mhm.
were.
Yep.
And then it would also, and they're not locked in for life. It's once a year, we would look at
Yep.
them again and do that. Fine, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Because that's the other thing, the service changes.
Yeah, exactly.
You go to
Sure.
a restaurant, next year you go to it.
It's
the same
not so
service.
great, yeah.
But that also gives us an opportunity to reevaluate the service we're receiving from all of our providers, including professional services. So are we getting the best service from our cleaning company? Are we getting the best service from our internet provider? Like, there are all of these things, right?
Sure, yeah. Any further discussion on the motion?
Sir, I know it wasn't public comment, but none of us knew what this policy was gonna look like. At $2,500 and under, does that mean y'all just spend it without approval, or how does that one work?
Well, it's not public comment, but that's the same way that you would normally spend in any business. That every department would have their own maximum that they can spend without having to go before the board. They're
Every
still
business isn't-
transparent. You can see exactly where it is, but yes, that's
Every
probably the
bu-
last question.
Okay.
we'll
Every
take.
business isn't using taxpayer money.
25,000 to 10,000 is supervisor or board. 10,000 to 25 is township board, 25 and above is township board.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. That's all I wanted to know.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Thank you for that, Randy. All right, new business. Special land use permit fees.
You missed one.
Oh, I missed one. Was that?
Vacancy policy.
Board vacancy policy, I apologize, I missed that, didn't we? Yes, that's kind of an important one, yeah. That's one of those, yeah, let's definitely hit that, board vacancy policy. We had quite a discussion, obviously, when this spot opened up, and I think a lot of you with good reason, had a lot of heartburn over the potential for feeling like you're overstepping without getting good response. But I think your due diligence was impressive to know that probably followed the very best path we could without leaving it somebody else's discretion. This is as close as you keep it to home, so to speak. Looking at what our best course of action would be, take a look at what this policy is. This is something that has been put forth by, yeah, we'll try to get those straight. Various other townships are following the same process to keep it within the township. So even if one person if that position is vacated, the elected officials are still in charge of making sure that person has been properly vetted. Before we want to discuss the motion, do we hear a motion to approve this policy, and then we can discuss it?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Good. All right. So, we have in front of us this appointment policy. We've all had it for a little bit. Any discussion on that motion?
This is the same policy that we had presented in April prior to you being in, and then, the only changes really would be to the application has a little bit more wording on it, and a few other questions that the attorney had sent over, said, hey, here's some questions that you may want to have in there. We can have them on there or not have them on there, I guess it's up to, what we want, if we want little or extra, but this is just setting it up for any other vacancy, if there happen to be any, and future boards, so they don't have to struggle with what we did. it just sets the standard for any vacancy, and it sets the standard for the board, the candidate interview evaluation. It has 5 questions that would be given to each candidate and how to score them, so then that way it's unbiased and straightforward.
So after it's posted, we have our applicants. I mean, what this says is that they're gonna post it so that everybody has a shot at it. And then we review applicants. What does that look like? Is that a meeting where we sit down, here they come?
It's when we get to that point, yes, then what we would do is we would take all the applicants and they would get this, we would arrange their interview. They would come out, each individual person would answer these 5 questions for the remaining board members. We would score them and then call the next person to do that, so they don't have to hear, they don't hear the other person's answers, to be fair. And then tally it up and discuss it as of the remaining board members, and then decide between that how we want to proceed, who we'd like to appoint. Then that way, it's not just we're walking in because, you know, he walked in with a pretty blue shirt on, and I really like blue.
So this policy then puts the appointment in the hands of the board all the time
Yes.
and not
That
in the
is-
hands of the supervisor?
I think that, yeah,
For board vacancies.
yeah, board meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's,
So any of these 5 positions.
this
That's
covers the
right.
entire
Right.
board. So any one of us, any position on this board was to be vacant, this is the standard policy that would be followed by the
The board
remaining.
is the authority that appoints at this,
That's
from
correct.
here on out.
Right.
That is correct, because all the MCLs that are listed within this policy, that is what gives this board that authority. The state constitution states that we are to appoint.
Right, but I've watched a supervisor appoint
Yeah.
without the board's.
And that would scare me. I would hate to have one guy doing that, yeah.
For what position?
I watched a treasurer get appointed in this hall, I watched a
That's
trustee get appointed in this hall.
Absolutely.
That could be,
And that's what I'm saying, that's why this policy is very important, because that stops that.
That's what I'm clearing up, yeah.
Because it's not just the supervisor, it's whoever's remaining on the board is the one that is in charge of this, and that's what this policy does, is it protects that,
Very well.
and it protects the integrity of the board.
I think one thing that caught us flat-footed this last time too, and this policy sets us up for success, is we started a timer unwittingly.
Yes, because
And-
the second we accept,
Truly.
we have 45 days. Even though somebody resigns, you don't have to accept their resignation at that moment. They can still resign and walk out of the building and not work. We're not gonna be chaining them to the desk saying, no, we don't accept it. It's just saying that we will take a minute, take a breath, call a special meeting, accept the resignation to start that 45-day timer to ensure that we have everything set up and ready to go, so that we can give ourselves and the public the most time to know that this position is available. Think about what you'd like to do.
One resigns, would we be able to bring them back until we have that position filled?
No.
No.
If they resign, if they resign and they have a date in there that says like effective immediately, they walk out, that position is just, it's just open.
The timer starts
When we as the board accept it, that's when the timer starts. Even though, we could, that person could quit tonight, we could wait 2 weeks to have our special meeting. That's when that 45 days starts, not the night that they quit. So then that way, it's just setting us up so that we have a solid policy to know exactly what to do, and there is no question.
Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Alrighty. Now we'll go to special land use fees, there we go.
So you guys will see, I sent this over to you, the proposed is in yellow, and I was talking to our zoning administrator, was the one that pointed this out, that our special land use, we should really be charging more, because the $350 we have in escrow, because we have to publish it. We have to send letters out to people within 300 feet of the address. Just to do the ad alone for the public hearing is $250 in paper. That leaves us $100 in escrow fee, and most likely, especially if we get any wind or solar coming in, which we don't know, but again, for something like that, I'm using it as an example, we should have our attorney attending that special land use, special hearing. And so, and if they don't use the escrow money, the money does get returned to them. So we just use what we need to, so we're protecting ourselves, and the township shouldn't have to, they shouldn't have to pay for the attorney. The person who's asking for this special land use for their own special needs should be footing that bill, because it's them benefiting, not the township. So, and looking around at all the other townships around us, they do have either $2,500 to a $3,500 escrow fee on their special land uses. So I put that on there so you guys could look and see what we have now, and I put $3,000, not knowing what we wanted to do. But like I said, the surrounding townships, when I looked at their escrow fees, they were between $2,500 to $3,500, and I called a couple of them, and they said that is the reason why, because they have their attorney attend every special land use meeting with the planning commission, just to make sure that everything is, that the applicant is protected and that the township is protected as well. So I thought this is a good time for us to review this and adopt the new ones. So just in case we get any applications.
So just the highlighted stuff is changing.
Yeah, that's the only ones that were, a little bit lower. Nothing else really needs any attention, because we just updated them. But again, now that we know that,
Planned unit development, where's that?
Scott, planned unit development, can you give me a brief?
Planned unit development?
Yeah, is that kind of like an apartment
Yeah.
development?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Multi-family.
Okay, yeah. So that'd be something that would be quite large, so, changing the escrow fee to $3,000 on special land use, a rezoning escrow fee of $1,500, and then the planned unit development, escrow fee to $3,000, that as the proposed changes.
Yeah. So we have the explanation. Do we have a motion to?
I will make a motion that we adopt the proposed changes.
Second, we can discuss it.
A second.
So motion to be discussed. We're looking at numbers and what that looks like. You mentioned something, Andy, just for my clarification. This is something they put in escrow.
That's
So if they began the process and decided they didn't want to do it anymore, they could pull out, they'd get their money back.
They get the escrow fee back,
Got
that's
it,
correct.
okay.
With what's left.
Whatever's left,
Yeah,
right.
whatever's
yeah,
left,
Right,
yeah.
yep, so, got it, all right.
Or if they go through the process and we only use $1,500,
Right, they get whatever left.
they'll get
was.
whatever's left back.
Got it, very good. Okay.
How many special land use applications do we do a year? You know,
There isn't a set amount, we haven't had one this year yet, because they go to the planning commission first, so.
Right.
And then I know like a couple years ago, we had 3.
that would be like probably lease land towers and.
Yeah, because like we had the cell tower, that.
We're asking that kind of money out of mom and pop that won't put up a mailbox on your side of the road type of thing. Right, exactly,
No.
right, this is.
You just want to increase to 3,000?
And like I said, they get it back if it's not all used, but
Yeah.
we should be able to cover our costs,
No,
because
if
they're.
our lawyers both had to get finished.
Absolutely. And like, I said, we're keeping the home-based businesses staying the same, so I mean, that covers if somebody wants to do a home-based business that doesn't have a special land use. The special land uses are, like I said, the large sawmill, car dealership,
The bigger operation.
bigger operations.
Got it. Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Next is phones for elected officials, employees. All right. Do we want explanation or just,
I mean, right now, we pay Google Voice $113 a month. We can port our numbers over from Google Voice because we're finding that Google Voice is not reliable. It's fine for text, but we have a lot of elderly community, and when they're trying to call and you're getting every third word, it gets very frustrating, and they don't text. But we can go to AT&T for $155.97 a month, and that's with 5 phones. So in that way, we can have separate, and also it protects the township because whoever has that phone, when they go to walk away, bring the device in, you set it down. For FOIA, everything is right there. Your personal device is not subject to that when you're not having that information on there.
Emails transfer.
Emails are transferred right there, so in that way, everything is right with what we should have. And the township has control of the device.
entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to go with AT&T for $155.97 a month.
Support?
It's just used for township business, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Support? Second? All right. So discussion on that, I do know from personal experience, it's awful nice if FOIA comes after they don't get our personal phones with all of the stuff on it, because if they subpoena that thing, you get to hand them your entire device. So if you do township work on your personal computer, you do township work on, you take phone calls, they can get your entire device. And that's, if we're already paying $113, we're talking an upcharge of $42. Megan, go on and get it, Ontario, something like that, for $40 a month. And that covers the service and the 5 devices, correct, Andy?
That's correct.
It looks like they got an increase though.
It is an increase. It is.
After 36 months, yes, it goes to $225 a month, which is $45 a device.
Yep. And how long is that? That's
not
after
until-
36
that's-
months.
Yeah, that's after 36 months. That's
Right.
not until almost 2028.
At that point, we could take a look at
Absolutely.
what else was out there.
You can renegotiate at that point.
The way devices are nowadays, by then they'd be dead anyway. You want something like
Exactly.
that.
So by the time that cost comes up, we can look at something else.
Is that including all new phones for all of you, or is there gonna be a cost to purchase phones
No,
from AT&T?
That includes cost of phones.
All devices.
It includes service and devices.
What are we paying for right now?
$113.
And that was going to our current cell phones?
It's an app on here.
Yeah.
And it, like I said, it's delayed. It's delayed and, there's times where I've gotten a voicemail 2 days later. I'm like, oh, well, that would have been handy,
Right when they need it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're looking to get something that is a little bit more reliable. Like I said, the numbers that we currently have, we can take over to AT&T, so we don't have to change the numbers, so we don't have to worry about trying to say, oh, we got new numbers yet again. So, I did check into that, and we can port them over.
The township actually has the device there. The township owns it. We don't
Yes,
personally have it.
that is correct.
So at $225, what does that turn out to annually? 2,800-ish?
Yeah,
Yeah, and the 155 gives us for 3 years, and that's what?
it's like $31, almost $32 a device
Right.
a month. And like I said, right now, we're paying $113 a month.
1700, something like that. discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Adjustments for cemetery rules.
Julie put this forth for us to provide our approval on the adjustment to the rules and resolutions for our cemeteries. Just adding, for maintenance purposes, flowers and plants are only allowed on permanent planters. Makeshift flower beds, gardens are not permitted. We're finding that more and more people are trying to they're digging around the headstones, they're planting things, so it's just, and this is in line with a lot of other cemeteries, it has to be in a planter. Because if not, it's hard to mow around, they're not getting mowed, then you have people complaining that things aren't getting mowed because they can't get close to it because they've planted things, or they've taken and put, mulch all over the entire grave site, and not just in front of the stone, they're trying to make a whole memorial. I empathize, I would, I get it, but also we have to also have, uniformity in what we allow in the cemetery so that we can keep it clean and safe for everyone that is there.
One of the biggest things is when the guys trim in the fake flowers or the real flowers, they just explode everywhere, and then I have to pick all the little petals out. It's rough, everybody wants to plant the flowers, but I think we can do it, because when they're in the urns and the planters, they look absolutely beautiful.
So I'd like to make a motion that we amend the cemetery rules to adopt that verbiage.
Do I hear a second? Support. Motion and support. Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
You guys gonna send this out, but how are we gonna get that word out to people?
We have it posted in,
It'll be in the newsletter too.
the newsletter, and we'll post it at the cemeteries, and we'll post it on our website as well.
That makes sense. Yeah, because people don't want to know.
So,
If you posted years ago, but posting down, that got rid of it, so.
and we have realtor boxes to put up at both cemeteries that we're gonna put these copies in, so people can take a copy with them when they're there. And then every time Julie sells a space, they're given a copy of the rules.
Good. All right. There's a planning commission vacancy, because you're truly sitting up here, so that has something to do with that, right? You guys got along just fine without me before, and sure you're doing just fine without me now, but, had some opportunity to look at some folks for that one. Had an applicant that I think fills the bill pretty well. Darren, and I can never say your last name right, man.
It's Lauk.
Lauk, exactly. L-O-U-C-K, right? Yes. And Darren comes to us, they moved into the area, so they bring some of that new, some of that question is, what made Maple Valley a nice place to come to? That sort of thing, kind of that feel of, because we got quite a few people on the planning commission that have been here for a while, which is great. Why do you like this township? What's been here? But it'd be nice to have somebody that came in fairly recently and said, what was it that drew you to this area? That sort of thing, and what sort of things would you like to see keep going? So I'm going to appoint Darren to that position, and as long as he's willing to stomach it. As long as he can handle that and have fun with it, it'll be good. So anyway, thank you for taking that opportunity and applying, Darren, and thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. There's 4 month waiting period for him to sign too.
Or be appointed to a different spot or anything like that. You're stuck here for a while, so I like that. All right. We have the reminder of Montcalm's MTA meeting, which is Tuesday the 17th.
So if anybody, Lee or Tim, if you guys want to go, let me know by tomorrow. I have to put reservations in by tomorrow.
Is that
have public comment.
What's that?
Public comment?
We had that? We had that.
That was for the agenda only.
That was for the agenda only.
No,
No, that was for
Oh, so
public.
you've changed that without letting anybody know. Thank you.
What's that?
It's always had public comment at the end and at the beginning.
well, the agenda is out for everyone to read and review.
We put it at the top, so everybody had the chance to talk about anything that might be on there.
It would have been nice if you had said it at the
If you'd have
beginning.
clarified that, yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
All those in favor?
There's a lot of things on the agenda they've taken off, including the zoning report, you're correct.